Shalom, shalom. It's your boy Zacharias coming at you. Another one. That's when I give all praise to our power. I'll be Howard. Wow, the Mashiach Yahushua. So we have a special shoot to my brothers in highways and byways, the elders of Israel, prophets back on this earth, regenerating, bringing in the flock, building up our nation. So I'm going to give another shalom to our brothers and sisters who may be coming in, who may not know the Israel, but slowly watching, learning, taking notes. And this one basically go into hidden things, part 14. Been there and we done that, right? So before I get it off, I had a dream and I just want to share with y'all. And basically the dream is like this. And I told it to my peoples and I just never said anything. It was like 3 weeks ago. So I'm dreaming the Bishop Nathaniel, I believe he's in IUIC. And we're in a temple, but the Pope's in the temple. And he busts through like the door or whatever. And he holds up like the Bible, but then it turns into like a scroll and it rolls down and then you see a bunch of Hebrew. But on top of the scroll, you see Psalms 2. And he's like 8 foot tall and he's talking to the Pope. And the Pope is like, what are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? What do you know? What do you know? And he's like, the Pope's like short, stompy, like a little toad. And Nathaniel's like, overpowering him. So they went outside kind of like, but I didn't get to hear that conversation. And then the dream is like I'm looking through a lens, like someone showed me something through a lens, and then the dream panders to the parking lot where the Pope's getting in a car, big long black car. And then Nathaniel kind of walks back like this. So I'm like, why is he doing that? And then the dream pants to like on the other side, and you see millions of people marching and like saluting this guy, the Pope, that is, right? And before that, it was like before they got into the parking lot, actually, they was going down some stairs, and it was like clash of the century kind of thing. I didn't say it, that was in the dream. And I didn't want to speak on it because like I'm not in the camp, whatever. But as this thing played out with the actor Brandon Jackson, whatever, it kind of like unfolded because I stay out of like drama in Israel. I just want to help people understand who they are and build their spirit up. And then he says he's meeting with the Pope. And then he comes and he attacks no other leader but the Bishop Nathaniel. So my mom's is like, your dreams are playing out. I'm like, oh snap, you're right. And I wrote it down and everything, but I didn't really focus on it because I'm like, it's a dream. Sometimes you dream stuff. Some dreams are prophetic. Some dreams are just like dreams. And it was like, wow. So I'm not saying the brother has like ill intentions, but it's weird that I dreamt the bishop and the Pope clashing. And Psalms 2 is a powerful psalm. Is the Lord going into how these people are trying to plot against his anointing, and he's going to mock them in the derision. And then in the parking lot, that thing happened, and then lo and behold, a week later, he brings it out where he's calling out the bishop alone. So that's what it was, and it was something I didn't want to speak on it first, but I was like, let me speak on it because it may resonate with somebody. Somebody may decode it better than me, or whatever the case is. All right. So I'm just going to jump into the lesson on my Fair Use Act first. And this is the Fair Use Copyright Act of 1976. This is for commenting, news reporting, and research purposes and teaching. All right, so I'm going to jump into it. Start off with the scripture right here, Ecclesiastes 1 and 9. And it reads, the thing that has been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that shall be done. And there's no new thing under the sun. And in this segment, I'm going to show you, brothers, how everything of old, everything that we see now was in past times in civilizations. Some civilizations we were under. So without further ado, I'm going to start off. Some of you guys probably seen this, but the QR code, right? This is from ancient times. Now, everything is a QR code. Your phone's QR code, whatever the case is. Then we got an ancient cell phone, right? Now, I want you to pay attention to the actual cursive writing on that because it's going to play down a picture I got later down the road. Then we got laptops, right? As you can see, And a lot of these paintings or portraits or statues are remakes of the original ones. I'm gonna go into that as well because Esau does iconoclasm, right? Then we got a Rolex watch. So we got QR code cell phones, laptops, Rolex watches. They all dig these things up and hide them from time to time. Then, believe it or not, this is an actual picture of a Stargate they found back in the 40s, right? This is from Iraq, Shinar, right? And a lot of people probably may not have known, but Hitler actually had a team that he sent to Alaska that was looking for these things as well, and they found one in Iraq. Believe it or not, he had a team, but that's going into another thing. And then we got basically the atomic bomb, right? That was set off and used in ancient times before. And a lot of times we see these things and it's like, oh, okay. But the technology you see Esau with is not new. These things that you see, the atomic bomb, these are all things that's rediscovered. They haven't been used on the earth for so long. So when we see these things, it's like, wow. But he has been given the blessing of the spirit of war. So now he basically goes and finds these things, he being Esau Edom. All right. And then we got, wars that was fought back in these days, right? And when you read the book of Numbers, it goes into, Numbers 21 and 14, where is it said in the book of the wars of the Lord. Now, we don't have this book. So a lot of things happen on this earth. And when it happened, a lot of the information is basically, conformed. And to access it is basically kind of impossible. We have to just go off the spirit of the Lord giving us the information through wisdom, right? Where he said in the Red Sea and in the books of Aaron. We don't have that either, right? All these priestly books and king's books that we have that's going into these different battles the Lord fought on this earth, right? Going into also that flood. That flood wasn't just about flooding the earth. The Lord broke apart the earth and shifted these things that you call continents now. It was all one crust. And that's why you'll see pyramids in Peru and in Mexico and all that stuff. So when the 10 tribes of Israel, the lost tribes that was found now that we are known as Hispanics and natives, when they went to these places, they actually rediscovered all the idolatry that they were doing over there in Sumeria and different parts of Israel. And that's why they got back into idolatry. So when they went, they discovered all these ancient pyramids and these ancient records and stuff like that. That was part of the old world, right? There's pyramids all over the world, and that was a construct of the old world. All right. So then we go into this queen, and if you look at the writings, remember I told you pay attention to the writings. I'm gonna show you again in the cell phone. See the writings? Same things, brothers. Look at it good. Now Esau is funny. Esau, when he found out all this information, he went back and redid the history to him. So now when you go in the museums, you've seen this white lady wear hair like that, right? And then they do movies of it. So then you can't even deny it because it's in statues, right? Then you get movies like this, right? Queen Amidala, Princess Leia, right? And they're like, oh yeah, because guess what? When we look at history, we see this white lady with this hairstyle of that queen. But if you look on the left, you're gonna see the nose, the cheekbone, the lips. They can't hide that. They can't hide that, right? And that's what they do through iconoclasm, and is actually spoken in our law as well, in the book of Maccabees. I'll give it to you right here. Maccabees 1, chapter 3, verse 48. And they laid open the book of the law, when the heathen had sought to paint the likeness of their images. They have always done that throughout history. They don't have any history. What they do is they go and discover other people's history that were great, and they basically paint over the characters, rewrite the books, right? And 90%, I was going to say 99% of what we read is garbage. It's all his history that he rewrote, and that's what gives the descendants the pride and all this stuff. Like, 300 and all that. That was all us, right? That was the Lacedaemonians, right? That was fighting those battles, right? And these are things that we got to take heed, right? That's why it's basically what was been has been, and what is to come, because all these things were created. And this is not to say, oh, I'm bringing it out so it's basically something that nobody had ever seen before. I'm bringing it out so we don't get attached to this world and have love for this world and be all attracted to this world. Like, oh man, look at this, and I'm gonna lose this and I'm gonna lose that. These things have all been here before. We all had these things and we all got rid of it. And we're back on the earth now, living out a different life in a different form, in a different part of the world. So when it's time for them to say, hey, pack up and go, we gotta be like pilgrims, like Ezra said, right? And I just want to finish it off with this video right here, bringing it out full circle to show you the mindset of these people, right? I'm gonna show you a clip of Walter Cronkite and show you the mindset of these people. Pay attention to what this guy about to say.
World government is the structure necessary for global justice.
It wasn't the news until Walter Cronkite told us it was the news. Every night at 6 o'clock, we welcomed you into our living rooms and listened as you explained the complex events of the day. Whether it was the space race, the Vietnam War, presidential elections, or peace treaties, you were there, telling us in simple yet riveting prose what was happening. You became a trusted member of my family and of families across America. For decades, you told us the way it is. But tonight, we honor you for fighting for the way it could be.
I'm a lifelong advocate of this principle, and it is appropriate, therefore, that we present.
Let us hear the peal of a new international liberty bell that calls us all to the creation of a system of enforceable world law in which the universal desire for peace can place its hope and its prayers. As Carl Van Doren has written, history is now choosing the founders of the World Federation. That was back there at the beginning. And he said, any person who can be among that number and fails to do so, live up to our obligations to the United Nations, is led by a handful of willful senators who choose to pursue their narrow, selfish political objectives at the cost of our nation's conscience. They pander to and are supported by the Christian Coalition and the rest of the religious right wing. Their leader, Pat Robertson, has written in a book a few years ago that we should have a world government, but only when the Messiah arrives. He wrote, literally, any attempt to achieve world order before that time must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
There it is, right? And they know basically who they serve, and then we got to know who we serve, right? Because they believe that they could bring the world into one order. But as I showed you before with these atomic bombs and stuff, that ain't gonna happen, because these things happened already and they destroyed themselves because of greed, right? And on them not being able to unify, especially when the Lord said these 10 toes will be made of clay and iron. So they could wish and have wishful thinking and all that kind of stuff. Hey, they want to mock the Lord. At the end of the day, the Lord will mock them in his derision. And we got to stay fast and understand that the Lord is soon to come. I'm going to hit you with this one script, and then I'm going to close it out. And it's Colossians chapter 1, verse 15, and it reads, who is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn of every creature? For by him were all things created that are in heaven and are in earth, visible and invisible. Keep that in mind. Whether they be thorns or dominions or principalities or powers, all things were created by him and for him, and he is before all things, and by him all things consist. So keep that in mind, brothers, when you hear them speaking about principalities and powers in high places. The Lord is in charge of it all. And this is his movie, And this is going to play out exactly how he scripted it in these records. Christ and the 12 disciples are looked upon as rejects. Could any good thing come from Nazareth? Right? Don't never look at yourself, brothers, as rejects in this truth. You may not have money. You may not have a good job. You may not even have a good place to rest your head. But do know that your name and your deeds are going to live out in infamy, just like how Jeremiah and Ezekiel and Moses are spoken about 4,000 years ago, are spoken about right now. Never look at what you're doing as something minuscule, and never look at it as not fulfilling. You are fulfilling the scriptures of the word of the Lord. With that, brothers and sisters, hope you got something out of it. Love y'all, like I said. Love y'all people. Love y'all nation. And most of all, love y'all power. I'll be Ahba, my Shaki Shah. With that, see y'all next time. If be the Lord's willing, it's your boy Zacharias. Shalom.